Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right into a concept today that is absolutely fundamental to how we navigate the world. So get ready for a cold, clear injection of existential realism. We're looking at strategic antifragility and the sovereignty of readiness. Now, I know that sounds a bit heavy, but stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to feel more empowered and equipped to handle whatever the world throws at you. Let's get right into it.
So think about this for a second. If you do everything perfectly right, are you guaranteed to succeed? Look, most of us automatically want to yell yes, right? We're kind of raised on this idea. But today, we're going to challenge those deeply ingrained assumptions we all have about safety and predictability. The honest answer to this question might sting a bit at first, but trust me, it's the absolute key to actual freedom.
Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to start by defining the psychological myth that's holding so many of us back, and that is the just world fallacy. Basically, it's this deeply ingrained belief that if you just do good things, you work hard, and you follow all the rules, the universe is going to automatically reward you with safety, success, and predictability. And you know, this myth is highly, highly comforting to the human ego. Why? Well, because it makes the world feel incredibly manageable. It gives us this really nice but completely false sense of control.
See, we all secretly believe and operate by this specific mathematical script on a daily basis. Good input, meaning our effort and our virtue, equals good output, meaning our success and our safety. But today, we have to aggressively deconstruct this. It's time to shatter that illusion. Because here's the reality. The universe actually does not run on a human moral scorecard. Nature frankly doesn't care how much effort you put in, and it certainly doesn't guarantee any sort of return on your virtue.
Section 1. The Anatomy of Chaos.
That realization brings us to the brutal, unfiltered reality of cosmic randomness. And consider this a fair warning. Accepting this means acknowledging that literally anything could go wrong, anytime, anywhere. You don't have to make a single mistake for things in your life to go completely sideways. You can have the absolute best routine in the world, you can optimize all your health biomarkers, follow flawless lifestyle protocols, and still, bam, be hit with a random genetic mutation or an unpredictable accident. You can build a pristine, high-leverage business with perfect margins and still get completely wiped out by a black swan macroeconomic collapse or a sudden geopolitical pivot that you couldn't possibly have foreseen. The chaos is out there, and it is entirely out of your hand.
And this brilliantly illustrates a core reality check, courtesy of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. I absolutely love this quote. Losing, despite your absolute best efforts, isn't some personal failure. It is simply the natural tax of operating in a highly complex, chaotic, non-linear system like our universe. You didn't necessarily do anything wrong, you just experienced the raw reality of chaos.
Section 2. The Fork in the Road. Now, when a person truly internalizes the fact that absolute control is a complete illusion, they hit a psychological wall. The realization can be terrifying for sure, and it forces a huge choice between two vastly different psychological paths. Path A is existential nihilism. This is the defeatist loop of learned helplessness. It's the voice saying, if doing my best can still result in a total catastrophe, why bother? Nothing matters anyway. This path leads straight to complete paralysis because it mistakenly equates a lack of absolute control with a lack of personal agency. But then we have Path B, strategic antifragility. The active strategist's path. The mindset here is totally different. It says, chaos is guaranteed, so plan. This leads directly to sovereign action. Instead of freezing up, the terrifying reality of randomness should actually serve as this high-octane catalyst to completely eliminate complacency from your life.
I really want to drive home this central mantra. You control the sails, not the wind. This is incredibly empowering when you really think about it. It means that true sovereignty lies entirely in how you navigate the chaos, not in your vain, stressful attempts to somehow control it. You can't control the storm, but you have absolute, unquestionable sovereignty over how you set your own sails to survive it.
Section 3. The Ancient Antidote.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that you might think dealing with this level of existential dread is a purely modern problem. It's not. This exact dilemma was actually solved thousands of years ago by Stoic masters like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius through a concept called Premeditatio Malorum. It's the Stoic discipline of premeditating evils. That means actively visualizing, planning, and literally mentally rehearsing worst-case scenarios before they ever even happen. The Stoics argued that the shock of a catastrophe is what truly paralyzes an individual, not the catastrophe itself. By practicing this kind of dark visualization, you basically strip chaos of its primary weapon against you, the element of surprise.
Let's walk through this process step by step so you can actually apply it. Step 1. You actively visualize the catastrophe. Step 2. By doing this, you're acclimatizing your nervous system to the dark. You are essentially training your brain to handle the absolute worst. Step 3. When a crisis actually strikes in real life, you completely bypass the natural panic response. And finally, Step 4. Because you aren't panicking, your brain immediately clicks into tactical execution mode. This whole process prevents your nervous system from just shattering when the crowd around you is screaming and spinning in circles.
Section 4. The contingency audit.
So how do we operationalize this philosophy today? We use what's called the contingency audit to transition from passive anxiety into active structural fortification. It relies on 3 main pillars: redundancy and shock absorbers, decoupling identity from outcomes, and normalizing the pivot. Think of these 3 pillars as your sovereign protocol. If you apply these, you're doing the essential engineering required to build an unkillable ship right in the middle of a terrible storm.
Let's move to this next one and see how this builds when we apply an engineering lens to your life. In engineering, critical systems never, ever have a single point of failure. If a critical airplane engine fails, a backup immediately kicks in. You need to do the exact same thing. If your primary cash flow suddenly vanishes, your redundant system should be a multi-month sovereign runway ready to go. If an unexpected health metric spikes out of nowhere, you need a deep research network and metabolic resilience already in place. You absolutely must ruthlessly eliminate single points of failure.
Now, the second pillar is entirely psychological. If you rely on an outcome-based identity, a macro failure will completely break you. You'll say, "I failed, therefore I am flawed." Instead, you need an execution-based identity, where success is measured solely by the purity of your execution. Decoupling your self-worth from erratic external outcomes prevents a macro failure, something you couldn't even control anyway, from breaking your fundamental identity.
And finally, the third pillar, normalizing the pivot. When a black swan event actually hits your perimeter, this is your immediate protocol. Step 1, accept the new data instantly without whining or asking why me. Do not waste time crying over cosmic unfairness. Step 2, run an immediate system reboot because your baseline is fundamentally changed. Step 3, look objectively at the wreckage and extract the raw data. You just calmly transition out of panic, accept the changed baseline, and gather your intel.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with a single powerful question. When the baseline changes, when the chaos hits, and the world flips upside down, what is your optimal next move from right where you are? I want you to really think about that. Stop wishing for a predictable universe, start building your unkillable ship, and always be ready to ask yourself, what is the optimal next move? Thank you for joining me, and I highly encourage you to start your own contingency audit today.